Hi there, my name is Kululwa Mutwa and welcome to Property Market Moves. Now today I am joined by Azola Mayekiso. You know her as the CEO of NHFC, the National Housing Finance Corporation. Good morning.
Good morning, Kululwa.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good.
That's good.
Oh my goodness, I'm glad that we finally have a moment to sit.
Yes, so am I.
Yeah.
It's at the right time of the year.
Absolutely.
As things are beginning to taper off.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before we get into what you do,
Yes.
tell us about who is Azola Mayekiso.
Sure. Azola Mayekiso, many sides, to me, and layers to the onion. I wear many different hats.
Yeah.
But to sum it up, really, I would say that I'm a patriot.
Okay.
I'm someone who cares deeply about this country. Seeing South Africa really realize her potential,
Yeah.
because we are such a long way away from that. Albeit, obviously, a lot of strides have been made. But I think that there's a lot more that still needs to be done. We are definitely not there yet. It's not yet Uhuru. And I think that the leaders that are currently occupying leadership positions, we the ones really, it's this generation, in my view. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. No one is coming to save us. So it's up to us to, in every little corner that you occupy, to be, occupied with really wanting to make a difference.
Yeah.
If of course you are that way oriented, because we are not all made equal, right?
No,
we're not all the
absolutely.
same. So,
Absolutely.
but
We are
yes,
the change that we want to see.
Exactly. So, patriot, social entrepreneur. I'm really bothered by the socioeconomic, state that the country is in. And for me, I'm doing everything that I can, certainly in the space that I occupy now. To make a difference, to make a change, to budding entrepreneurs that really want to make a mark in this affordable housing segment of the property market. And that's what keeps me up at night, trying to solution and solve for their challenges. I am in a very privileged, position with respect to the role that I am currently playing, the place that I occupy. We are in a DFI environment, and our reason for being, really, we are a development finance institution, and we are supposed to fund development, in this affordable housing sector. And so that's what we do.
Oh my goodness. How great would South Africa be if we were all actually just kept at night, by wanting to make South Africa great? So take us through your journey. How did you get here?
Where? To the National Housing Finance Corporation. Okay, now we're talking work. Sure, it's been quite a journey, but I mean, if I look at it, because I started out in finance, I studied a commercial degree, Bachelor of Business Science, majoring in finance statistics. I don't know what I've done with stats, but it is what it is, and economics. It deals with you proper stats. My very first foray then into the world of work, I went into Alexander Forbes, which particularly within their investment consulting business, and what asset consultants or investment consultants do, they advise asset owners or institutional investors by way of retirement funds, life offices, life companies, those people that sell insurance, as well as other institutional investors on investment strategy, on formulating investment strategies, setting up investment objectives, and then with the asset manager selection decision, and then we would then assist them in monitoring the performance of those asset managers. And whenever any, investment strategy changes needed to happen, obviously that would be very much informed by how their liabilities are looking, which is the monies that they owe to the members that are contributors to those retirement funds. And then that would obviously inform how you then structure the assets in order to ensure that ultimately they deliver on the obligations that they have to the members. So that's how the journey started really. So on the asset consulting side, but then I eventually ended up in an asset management, environment. Whereby I suppose at the peak of it, I led Sanlam Investment Management. But before getting to Sanlam Investment Management, I had the opportunity to work for a diversified financial services group, and really that is where the work that Alexander Forbes did, right, in forming a good foundation from a financial services point of view, Vunani then took to the next level, because I then got introduced by being at Vunani to private equity and what that is all about, to corporate finance and what the corporate advisory work is all about. And eventually I got seconded to go and basically turn around their asset management business. It was at the time called Peregrine Quants, and then we formulated a strategy to basically change it altogether and convert it into an active asset management house, because Quants at the time was just not working, or it was not really a core to the strategy of institutional investors. And so we needed to ensure that we come up with something that is going to sell in the market, basically. So that was a lot of fun. The time that I spent at Vunani was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. I grew a lot. But I also helped, turn around an institution which today stands on its 2 feet.
My goodness.
I think at the time that I joined, it was a 6 billion rand business. By the time I left, it was a 15 billion rand business. Today, it sits at above 30 billion.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're not a stranger to turnaround.
No.
Got to NHFC.
Not at all. Yeah.
And how has that journey been?
Whoa. Sure. When I was in the private sector, obviously we would read a lot about all the news flow around SOEs and how they are badly managed, mismanaged, ineffective, etc. I got to see it firsthand. That's exactly what I inherited. An entity really that had not lived up to its promise, I would say, because this DFI its potential, exactly. So this DFI was established in 1996 to address housing backlogs.
Almost 30 years old.
Almost 30. We're 28 years old this year. So in 2 years' time, and in 2 years' time, we turn 30, and hopefully we'll have a very good story to tell. At that point, hopefully we would have launched the bank that has been, largely anticipated and long anticipated. We've been talking, or the sector has been talking about the HSDB for some 15 plus years now. And it is yet to be established, this bank. Anyway, I got to the NHFC and I got shocked by what I found. But look, I'm not necessarily going to dwell on that. I don't like focusing on negativity. I found what I found, and now we are slowly trying to turn the ship around. We're trying to turn it around. We are injecting efficiencies. DFIs are notorious, for taking far too long to process transactions, funding applications. We are injecting efficiencies into that process just to ensure that, ultimately, people that come to DFIs, they come to us because they have nowhere else to go, by and large, and others who come to us because of the more favorable terms, funding terms that we provide. So it is critically important that, particularly for emerging developers, that we get this right, ensure that our turnaround times are as reasonable as possible. So we are trying to just rationalize even our requirements. We're rationalizing our internal processes. We are currently in the process of reviewing our risk appetite statement and the related, obviously, policies. So credit policy, lending policy, in our strategic investments policy, and the related processes and procedures. So we are busy with all of that.
Oh my goodness. That is great news.
Yes.
And just looking then at what that future could look like when actually an NHFC lives up to his promise and realizes its potential. So who is NHFC's target market?
Yeah. So we fund contractors as well as developers, but the end user that we have in mind, because our mandate is to really impact households that earn up to 22,000 Rand per month. At a household level. So a lot of the programs that we run, really are meant to serve that market. So we provide delivery. We fund developers who then deliver social housing stock. So that's subsidized rental stock. We provide private rental stock. We provide student accommodation, delivery thereof, that is, right? Because we are a financier. And then we provide, facilities for delivery of affordable housing for outright ownership. And it has to obviously be housing that is targeted at our target market, so that we are not in breach of our mandate. And then we provide facilities for, landlords that provide backyard rentals. So that's part of what we do. Also, as part of our affordable housing product set, we also have a mandate to deliver provision of serviced sites. And we also provide wholesale facilities to microfinance institutions. So these are guys, so they are non-bank lenders, and they provide microloans to end users for the purposes of those end users either building for themselves incrementally or making home improvements. So we provide those wholesale facilities, and then they on lend. We also have our strategic investments unit that I mentioned earlier. And what we do there really is we partner with the private sector. So we take equity stakes in private enterprises that play in this affordable housing space. Some of whom actually provide mortgages. So in the case of I don't know if I can mention names, but in the case of this one entity, they are a mortgage provider to our target end user market. So we have invested in their business. We've provided funding such that they are then able to write that mortgage business.
Now, talking about equity, we know that's one of the big, gaps that SMMEs, especially Black, struggle with. Even when they do find, secure funding, they still then will struggle to raise that equity. How does that work? The equity gap, how does NHFC bridge that gap?
So as part of our mandate, and in fact, we've already started doing this. So we are already bridging the equity gap. However, it's quite difficult to bridge it utilizing an equity instrument. So what part of the work that we are doing at the moment, upon the realization that, we are quite limited with respect to really providing the support to assist those emerging developers that can't sign the equity checks that are required in order to make their transactions financially viable. We have then, what we've done up to date is we've typically used a preference share or a mezzanine structure.
All right.
Or junior loans in instances where, that can be accommodated by the cash flows of the project. And the what we are embarking on at the moment is we're busy reviewing our equity and quasi-equity instruments. Right. We have a consultant on board to assist us with that, to also evaluate whether, the valuation methodologies that we adopt for each of the product areas are fit for purpose, and whether our gaps, obviously, they're going to help us close those gaps. We're really hopeful that on the back of the exercise, we are then going to come out with instruments that are really going to be able to help us move the needle when it comes to supporting emerging developers with those equity contributions. Yeah.
How do you feel about, the exposure? I'm sure that you're still getting a number of applications coming through, but do you feel that you're getting as much as you could? Does your target market actually know about NHFC and the help that they can get from you?
Look, yes. That's really one of the things. By the way, when I was headhunted to come into the NHFC, I didn't know the NHFC existed.
Wow.
Yes. So the NHFC has been under the radar. It's not well known. And that is something that, again, we are working on rectifying. Yeah. We are building the profile of the business and really, trying to put it out there. Yeah. To answer your question, are we getting as many transactions as we could? I would say probably not. Not only necessarily because the NHFC is not that well known, but I think also emerging developers who are the people that we can really make a difference in whose lives we can make a difference, don't really necessarily have the capacity to put together projects, and thus be able to be in a position to come to us for funding applications. This is part of the reason then we've decided to launch our emerging developer incubation program.
Yeah.
So it's an incubator. We're gonna incubate, but we're also going to provide post approval, post investment support, to assist with things like ensuring that we actively manage that construction risk. And post construction, we are also going to provide assistance with respect to property and asset management, as well as sales support for the sales product. So it's a turnkey type of solution that we have conceptualized, and we are in the process of finalizing onboarding the service provider. And then we were actually supposed to launch before the end of this year. That was my dream in terms of launching the incubator. But we will be launching it first thing next year, in the first quarter of next year.
Geez, that sounds like a lot of work. So who are you looking for? At what stage of their business, is your ideal target for this incubation program?
I think it's at different phases, because we are also targeting startups. The only thing that we want to be true, what needs to hold, is that these entrepreneurs that want to start a property development company, right? They need to have the experience, because otherwise then, we're not really sure why someone who has no background, has never worked in the built environment, would suddenly think that they can make it as a developer. That's not necessarily to say people are not welcome into, we're closing people out. But I think it's important that at least there is some knowledge, of the sector, because again, we've run incubators in the past where people didn't have this experience and that didn't work out so well. So we've incorporated lessons that we've learned from the past to ensure that this one has the best chance of success as possible. So startups, but by people who have been in the sector, who kind of know what they're doing. We are also going to be supporting businesses who are, maybe micro and are looking to scale, to get to scale. And we are also going to be supporting businesses who have maybe been at it, but perhaps are lacking when it comes to certain things. So this incubator is open to everyone. And again, the conversation that we've had with the service provider is that even the manner in which they are going to bill, it's really going to be informed by what level of support, is required of these emerging developers. So it's not a one size fits all. And the type of work that they're going to be doing. So it's either they're going to be providing a full suite of the professional team that is required in order to ensure that a development is a success, or they are going to be providing, in an instance where, you are talking about an experienced developer who might be small, who is able to assemble a professional team, the incubator will then take the role of really supervising what is happening.
All right.
Yeah.
With a focus on youth empowerment, what opportunities exist within the NHFC to support the youth? Yeah,
so part of what we need to do, as has been set for us by our shareholder, is we need to be supporting youth-owned developers. From that perspective, in terms of our disbursements, we do have set-asides for the youth, and that is encapsulated in that designated groups, category. Also, with respect to our procurement, we are expected to procure from youth-owned businesses, just with respect to the goods and services that we procure day to day as the NHFC. And these are typically professional services. So we use a lot of property valuers, as an example. We use, conveyancers. We use a lot of attorneys in the system. We also rent our accommodation. So there's an opportunity there. We rent our offices. We get, supplies like, the coffees and all of that stuff. We procure that stuff, stationery, consumables at large. So we procure that stuff. And on the odd occasion when we are hosting events, we obviously look to event management companies, to assist us with things like catering, DJs and that sort of thing. Yeah.
And that's amazing because, people literally will just look at, getting funding. But there are all these procurement, the value chain where people can actually be empowered still.
100%.
And you've got a bursary program, an internship program.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So that's also what we do. But in terms of the numbers, because what we try to do is we try to manage the intake. Because it helps us as a business if we can retain those people as opposed to having them in an internship program over an 24 month period and then we let them go. It doesn't help us. So therefore, we try to limit the numbers so that at the end of the internship, they can be absorbed into the business. I don't like talking about that too much because it's not high impact, but it's part of what we do. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And sometimes, the little things also contribute.
Certainly they change the lives of those individuals.
No,
that's
definitely.
For sure. Yeah.
One opportunity actually feeds a number of people in some of these, homes. And if we then talk about the next 5 years, what can we look forward to Actually, before we get there, what does development impact mean for NHFC? What would that look like if we're saying we want to make, development impact?
So I think the targets that we have for this incubation program.
Yeah.
So we're going to do the first intake in the first year.
Yeah.
We're going to impact 10 emerging developers in the first year. We will expand that to 20 additional in year 2. So that'll be 30.
Okay.
And then we will add in year number 3, 30 more.
Okay.
So in that 3-year period, we will have 60 emerging developers that would have been assisted by this intervention to get their projects to bankability. Now, one of the things that we have said upfront and what we are going to explain as well to emerging developers that are eligible for this assistance is that they are not compelled to apply for funding once their projects reach bankability.
Yeah.
They don't have to bring those funding applications to the NHFC. Of course, we would like them, but they are not compelled to. Because we understand that we operate in an open market free society, so they can go go wherever they can get cheaper facilities or better terms or whatever the case is. We don't mind. But for us, as long as we know that at the end of that 3-year period, we would have impacted 60 businesses, some of whom would have then, qualified for funding from ourselves. And then we will measure that impact by the units then that get delivered on the ground. Because that is how we basically report back to the shareholder. They want to know in any given 5-year period, what contributions have you made with respect to housing units as well as housing opportunities on the ground? Yeah.
All right.
So that's what impact looks like. It basically, we want to be able to ensure that these businesses, these emerging developers graduate from being referred to as emerging to being called developers over time, obviously. So we also like repeat business. Yeah. So you'll find that if we, for example, help them deliver their first 100 units, they will come back to us for their next 100, their next 500, their next 1,000. And that way, we would have really impacted society. And really for us, it's a simple metric that we look at. Yeah. What is our mandate? Closing the housing backlog. And so the more serviced sites, the more, housing units are delivered across the spectrum, as I mentioned earlier, in terms of the various typologies that we focus on, that we would have then been true to our mandate. And how we do that is obviously through these partnerships. I forgot to mention our flagship program that we run at the NHFC, the First Home Finance program, the old FLISP. We are a national implementing agent for the Department of Human Settlements for that program. And what it is it is a once-off subsidy, again, that targets, households that earn between 3,501 Rand and 22,000.
Okay.
It is meant to encourage first-time home ownership. Yes. And it targets beneficiaries who have not previously benefited from a government housing program. Okay. So if you have previously benefited, you can't benefit again from this one. Yeah. It's a once-off subsidy. It ranges between 34,000 Rand if you earn more on the upper end of that income scale. Yeah. Up to 169,000 Rand plus minus if you are on the lower end of the scale. Jeez. So it's free money.
That's massive.
That government provides to qualifying beneficiaries to facilitate affordable first-time home ownership. We've formulated a number of partnerships that just to ensure that this program reaches as many qualifying South Africans as possible. I mean, the one that is now, quite topical is the Zakhele Khaya program, which is a partnership between ourselves, Cashbuild, as well as Capitec.
Okay.
Whereby, so it's targeted at Cashbuild employees as well as Cashbuild customers that walk into Cashbuild, what do you call them? They're not cash and carries, but they are Cashbuild stores. Let's call it stores.
Okay, so not the customer that comes to buy.
Yeah, that customer as well. Yeah, so it's targeted at both their employees as well as the customers that come to buy building material. So what Cashbuild has done is they have created 5 different building packages, and their customers or staff members can select a building package that is most affordable for them.
Okay.
And then what happens is, and what we do with these partnerships, we would train up people like Cashbuild to be mortgage or to be subsidy originators.
Okay.
So they are a channel for us. They are a distribution channel. Yeah. So what they do, they then route an application to see if that particular customer,
meets the criteria. They apply for a pre-approval for first home finance. Yeah. We process it. If they are pre-approved, then they then ascertain how much they would qualify for. Sure. Once they've determined that, then they know what the gap is between the building package that they have selected from Cashbuild, the grant, and therefore whatever is the shortfall, that is what they apply from Capitec, for. Such that it's like a full suite, and at the end of the day, a builder will then build that structure for them. That's amazing. And I mean, so it's literally not age restricted, or is it?
No, it's not.
As long as you have never bought a home, you have not qualified for a government housing subsidy.
Yes.
And you fall within that income bracket.
Yes.
You are a potential beneficiary of this.
100%.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. In terms of the disbursements that you've made, let's look at 2023. What number has that been made to, Black-owned entities, and what was the target?
Yeah. So Black-owned entities, so that we battle quite a bit, both with designated groups as well as Black-owned entities. Why is that? Partly because of what we've been talking about, right? That typically we don't have a lot of the Black guys that are in our pipeline, and those that have been in the pipeline were unfortunately not approved due to limited demonstrable ability to be able to execute successfully. It's part of what has informed this incubation program that we are launching, right? So if you don't have a lot of them in your approvals, it means from a disbursements point of view, you are limited.
Sure.
And also, the reality around our business is that it's very much interest rate dependent. So where the level of interest rates are has a direct bearing on our business and our ability to be able to fund transactions. So in a high interest rate environment, as we've been in over the past
my goodness,
2.5 years or so, right? Yeah. It's been extremely challenging for transactions to reach financial viability.
Yeah.
Particularly in a context where, you're trying to assist, Black or designated group, because we have quite serious transformation targets.
Yeah.
But if you are trying to assist those groupings of individuals, we spoke about the equity gap.
Yes.
They are not able to, because in a high interest rate environment, in fact, banks right now are funding at LTVs of 60%.
Sure.
Whereas our LTVs run all the way to 90%, by the way. So that's part of what differentiates us. It's a big competitive advantage that we've got. But even in those instances, if the interest rate environment is high, what it then means, in order to ensure that the cash flows of that particular project can support the facilities, the senior debt facilities or mezzanine facilities that you have loaded onto the project.
Yeah.
If you don't have equity, to enhance the viability of the project, then you're not going to be able to get an approval. So that's where we've had a very big challenge, over the last two or so years at the NHFC. So if we talk about the last financial year, 23-24, the year ended March 2024. So we dispersed 413 million rand.
Okay.
Of which, only 66 million went to Black-owned entities.
My goodness.
And 82 million went to designated groups. So not great, because the context there is that of that 413 million, we have a set aside or a target of wanting to disperse 40% to designated groups.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So it would, out of a possible 165 million, we managed 82 million. Yeah.
Imagine the impact then that the 60, 3 years from now would actually make, because now they are suddenly eligible.
Yes.
And they build up, that pool.
Exactly. So that's exactly what we tried to solve for. That's precisely what we tried to solve for.
Sure. And of those who actually do submit, applications, what are some of the challenges that you still find? Things that you realize that there's still, a gap here that makes these projects not really as fundable and requiring more input. So what would you like these developers, to pay more attention to?
So the point is they don't have to anymore. That is why now we are launching this. We are intervening in the way that we are going to be intervening through the incubator program.
Seeing the challenges, and we've
seen the challenges. We've told the service provider what the challenges are, and we want them to handhold these developers to a point of bankability, and to also help them, by the way, put together an application, a funding application.
Oh my goodness.
So they're not going to be left to their own devices when it comes to that either, because we've had to spend a lot of time trying to handhold emerging developers. And to their minds, from the very first interaction, it doesn't matter that they came to us with an idea.
Yeah.
They didn't have a project, a fundable project. From when they start interacting with us, to their mind, that is when they started the process of the application. And they complain when it's been 18 months later and their project has still not been DD'd. Because the team...
There was no project.
The team has spent the time trying to assist them to put it together, to package it together before it can then be eligible for a full-on due diligence,
Yeah.
And I mean, the NHFC employees are not employed to do that. They're employed to find fundable transactions then to get them processed through the system.
Yeah.
So that is why we've then decided that this intervention is needed.
Yeah.
And it's been very long overdue, in my opinion. So now we're here, very excited.
Oh my goodness. So this is definitely one of the things then to look forward to in the next 5 years, of NHFC, because in 3 years' time, a number would have gone through this process Oh gosh, and we hope that if you come on, you actually stay on and show up.
Yes.
Because that also frustrates, know, the process of giving, to these entities, their commitment and actually just follow through. What else can we look forward to in the next 5 years from an NHFC perspective?
Hopefully the launch of the bank.
Oh, yes. Yes.
The Human Settlements Development Bank. I mean, that's something that, we've spent so much time focused on this year.
Yeah.
Just with respect to reviewing, revising the strategy, enhancing the stuff that we want to do, conceptualizing new product areas that we are going to venture into. It's a lot that we have done. There's a lot of other bolt-on services that we are going to embark on. I don't want to talk about them just yet, but when we are there and we've got all the necessary approvals, then we can talk freely because operating within the confines of the PFMA, we need certain shareholder as well as ultimately National Treasury approvals prior to delving into any new business areas. So we look forward to it because the bank is actually meant to catalyze delivery in this, affordable housing segment of the market. It comes with an extension to our mandate. So the scope of the NHFC, we're not only going to be the financier that we are in terms of funding, both serviced sites as well as top structures, but we are also going to, coordinate the funding of bulk infrastructure. Okay. Because some of the projects, particularly the bulk, the mega projects, they are blocked because of lack of availability of bulk infrastructure. Because the municipalities don't have the budgets to fund the need. So we are expected to play a role to coordinate funders that do have a mandate to fund that type of infrastructure, and we've already initiated discussions to this effect. So we will play a coordination and an advocacy role. So we will advocate to policymakers for what needs to happen on the ground. So we will advocate for the practitioners, but we will also help we will also bridge the gap, because we are quite close to the policymakers, but help the practitioners also understand the perspective of the policymakers, and hopefully through that bridging of the gaps, there'll be progress. The other area where we are going to play an active role is in terms of funding amenities. So the focus is very much moving away from housing and to really getting into the realm of human settlements. So we're not only funding delivery of housing, but we are funding delivery of human settlements, whether it's direct funding or through our coordination role. So we will fund amenities, things like, schools, clinics, but to the extent that we can recover those monies from the departments that are supposed to deliver those amenities. But obviously we will bridge them and make sure they get delivered together with a human settlement instead of that aspect being missing from a human settlement. And then we'll look to recover the monies later on. And then we are also going to play a role because a lot of delays get introduced during the planning phase. So there's quite a bit of rationalization and coordination that needs to happen during that planning phase, just to ensure that unnecessary delays can be eliminated, and that developers get their approvals sooner rather than later. So this organization is supposed to catalyze that kind of change in the sector. And we look forward to it. We look forward to the launch. We look forward to ensuring that we are adequately capacitated to be able to do it. And the bit that I did not mention, by the way, is modernization of our organization, because we are embarking. In fact, we're currently rolling out our ECM solution, Enterprise Content Management Solution, and we are soon to also onboard an ERP solution that's not only going to serve the NHFC, but that is going to also serve these emerging developers that we are going to be supporting.
That's quite a lot of work coming through, but powerful, impactful. That's actually, your developmental impact, cutting across. Jeez, you've got your work cut out for you. Now we've got our final question, and this came from the guest that we hosted prior.
Okay.
It goes, how are you or the organization modeling positive and excellent behavior as a common standard? Now, they don't know who you are. So this question is literally the question that they wanted to ask this guest, who just happens to be you. How are you or your organization modeling positive and excellent behavior as a common standard?
Yeah, so it's just, I suppose, in how I show up, and I guess just my makeup in general. I'm a perfectionist. I mean, some people might frown upon that to say, but that's not realistic. It's not everyone can live up to that kind of
standard.
Perfection actually is not. It shouldn't be a thing. But yeah, look, I think for me, I am highly driven.
Yeah.
And I, whenever I go into an area, I don't want to leave it in the same way that I found it.
Sure.
So, there is a sense of urgency now at the NHFC. That's certainly what I've been driving, because it's critically important for this organization to be effective. It's critically important that we serve, the market and the people we are there to serve.
Yeah.
With distinction, and nothing less. And as a result, the kind of intervention that is also on the horizon is bringing into the organization a high performance culture intervention that is premised on neuro-linguistic programming, which is a proven scientific methodology that really is meant to change mindsets, because that's what we need. We need a mindset shift just with respect to, because we currently are in a low performance, realm, and we just need to change things up and change gears, and really be an organization of high performance. I'm quite happy that in the core business, I mean, the professional team, it's very hardworking professionals, but I think this modernization of the organization is really going to assist, because we are going to cease utilizing spreadsheets to run the business, and we are going to have automated systems that are just going to make life a lot easier. But yeah, I mean, it's how you show up. It's how you model the right kind of behaviors by doing as you expect the people that you lead to do, and really that's what it is.
Okay. Well, that was a great conversation, and I trust that you enjoyed it. And really, more than anything, you were empowered, you were educated, and inspired, through that conversation. This is Property Market Moves. See you next time. Bye. Thank you so much.